Hi there, my name's Amanda.
And I'm Chris Lavelle.
And you're watching our blog, The Crush Method Show. And maybe you're listening because we also have a podcast, so you can always check that out too.
Yeah.
So today we want to jump in and talk about resilience and resistance.
That's right.
So resistance comes up a lot when you're building a coaching practice or really when you're doing anything where you're going to have a significant change in your life.
That's right. It's conflict. Could be conflict in selling your coaching services. Could be conflict within yourself. It could be physical conflict. Lots of different kinds of conflict or resistance in that regard. But you mentioned resilience too. And so resilience, if you're defining that, that's actually more your ability to recover. You're having toughness, resourcefulness to overcome a challenge.
Exactly. It's having that grit and that follow through to make sure that you're actually doing the things that are going to move you closer to your goal. And by the way, at the Crush Method, we love talking about starting your coaching or expert business and building it up to something that's really, really powerful and meaningful. But when I'm talking about resilience and resistance, I mean, this could also be in your personal life.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We've experienced it ourselves in our life.
I love to talk a lot about my own health journey and how really a lot of the same principles of motivation and mindset and resilience and grit and determination and will and all of these things come together for me being able to achieve a healthy weight.
Yep. In my case, I've had to overcome a lot of injuries through the years. Now at my age, almost 50, I've had injuries to shoulders, back, all kinds of stuff. And I've had to kind of find my way past that with resilience and overcome resistance of my body on occasion.
Oh my gosh. So, it shows up in ourselves, but it can also show up in relationships.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, like these kinds of relationships, the romantic kind. We had our share of spats in the very beginning.
We're human.
We are human. We are but human. But, I wanted to really go for it as an entrepreneur in the beginning. And
oh, I was resistant. I was like, oh, no. Their way lies danger.
Exactly. So it can show up in romantic relationships, but it can also show up with friends, family, people who
in
actually
your career?
love you. Yes, people in your career you can get this kind of resistance, and sometimes it'll really just come right out of left field.
Oh, yeah.
Like
you're going along, everything's fine, all of a sudden, boom, you hit a resistant wall.
Yeah, exactly. And so it could even show up physically.
Oh, yeah.
Like suddenly an inexplicable stomach pain. Or a migraine that comes out of nowhere or something like that. So there's all kinds of forms of resistance. And of course, resilience is the thing to bring to the table when resistance is showing up. But for the next few weeks, we're going to be talking quite a lot about resilience and about overcoming resistance.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Lots of good stuff on this topic to talk about.
So let's jump into it. Today, we really wanted to focus on a topic that's super important for any small business owner, really any business owner.
Yeah, not just coaching business, any kind of business.
And that is the subject of prospecting. So prospecting is basically the most basic form of marketing. It's where you're out in the world connecting with people who might want the services that you provide to solve a problem.
And whatever those services are. They have a problem, you have a service that can help their problem, and it's finding the opportunity to get those two connected. And resistance and resilience both play a part in that.
Exactly. So, when I started my coaching business, I was really, really overbuilding quite a lot of things in the beginning.
Let's build the entire watch factory before we build the first watch.
Before we build the first watch. And it's so funny looking back because at the time I was like, I'm ambitious. I want to do it all. I want to get all of these things done. And it wasn't until I brought things right back to being a more simple kind of a prospecting exercise that things really started to hum.
Yep.
So what do I mean by that? Right? Well, basically, I mean what we teach in the Crush Method framework, that ultimately what you're trying to do is you're trying to meet new people every day.
Yep.
You want to deepen relationships with people that you've met through speaking with them, talking with them, engaging with them, and being interested, not interesting, interested.
Yeah. And it's about them, not about you.
That's right. Really keeping it about them, that when the time and opportunity makes sense, you're inviting them to a fit conversation.
Yeah.
Now, the fit conversation is another way of saying that's sales conversation.
Yep.
But this is the blog, so we're going to keep it PG. We're just going to talk about fit. We're not going to talk about sales.
Yep.
And then, of course, once they make it past that fit conversation, you get those lovely magical words, which is, let's do it.
Yeah. And, in a fit conversation, that's a euphemism for overcoming resistance sometimes.
Yeah.
Is there a fit that allows you to overcome a resistance between them or even yourself and having a relationship and delivering service and value?
Exactly. So, this concept of resilience and this concept of resistance, it shows up not just in the general kind of a macro case, if I don't feel like it or I'm feeling debilitated in some way from being able to do
Nobody
this.
wants what I have. They're going to say no. Those are examples of resistance. But resilience examples in that case might be, I feel confident I can find a way to help them understand the value.
Right. Or I'm going to show up anyway. Mm-hmm. And there's that macro kind of level, but it also, to your point, shows up in the micro level of being able to tolerate the resistance that comes up in any fit conversation. Yeah. I would love to report to you that a multi-5-figure coaching package can be sold with no discomfort whatsoever, but that's just not the case.
It's just not the case.
They've actually done some really fascinating studies around how the brain lights up when a sale is occurring. And it turns out that as soon as the brain basically comprehends that there's a departure of money involved, there's actually pain receptors that go off.
Oh, wow.
So spending money is literally painful for the average human. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So talk about resistance. If it's literally painful to pay money, then, what do you do if you're on the business side and you're trying to get people to part with their money?
Yeah. Well, some of that resistance comes from it. Almost everybody has some kind of money issue. And there's a lot of resistance from that. So that can come up in that sales conversation.
Yeah. And, when it comes to prospecting, remember, it's not just about the fit conversation. It's about having connected conversations with people leading to that fit conversation.
Gotcha.
And for a lot of people, the resilience and the resistance can actually come up way before the sales conversation.
Oh, yeah.
It can come up when it's like, where am I going to go to meet people?
Yep.
Right? Or I've got this list of people that I know, but I'm not calling them.
Yep. Or you could have just met somebody and you could instantly just make a judgment, oh, they're not a good prospect. Well, that's your own resistance in that case coming up, and you have to overcome that resistance and apply some resilience and maybe keep interacting with that person and see if actually something evolves out of that.
I think sometimes we really overestimate and overblow in our mind just how much effort these things take. Like,
oh, gosh, yeah.
How hard is it to pick up the phone and call?
Yeah, and just have a conversation.
Physically speaking.
Yeah.
Not hard at all.
No.
But that resistance comes up and, I need to do this other thing to get ready.
Let me scroll to Facebook.
Yeah.
Let me write this down.
Exactly. Or I've got to prepare. So let me write down a script of what I'm going to say and practice that and rehearse that. And then I'll call. And, the problem is that sometimes that initial resistance opens the door for distraction.
Absolutely. Because resistance is not just on the prospect side. It's on your side too. You bring your own resistance in the discussion as we've been talking about. So there's resistance on both sides. And honestly, resilience on both sides too.
Absolutely. I think a lot of times resilience is really being able to observe and see yourself and see that bigger picture and recognize when the resistance has crept up.
Yep.
And make a conscious decision to be resilient.
Yeah, absolutely.
And generate that. So when it comes to prospecting, what do you do?
What do you do? What do you do?
Well, the number one thing is that I have routines that I execute daily, every single day, right? I am managing and monitoring my Facebook ads.
Okay.
I'm continuing and furthering conversations that I have through digital early in the morning. And then I have lists of people that I go through systematically to follow up, to check in, to see how they're doing, to see if I can offer some additional value. Basically, every activity that I have in my business around direct outreach, direct marketing, and just making sure that that's happening, I have it calendared out. And I also find it's really helpful to implement projects. So there's like the ongoing system, the system that's always running, and every day I do these simple things and I keep that going. But I find it also really helpful to orchestrate a campaign that's more project based, that there's a defined start and end date, and there's particular project activities associated with that. What I love about that strategy of having a project is that it gives you something with a little bigger of a splash to put your energy into, because sometimes it can take a long time to get those systems really, humming and working properly, to more passively provide opportunities for you to have fit conversations.
Well, exactly. And what Amanda just highlighted really absolutely highlights resistance and resilience, because the processes she has that she addresses every day, getting up, doing the ads she talked about, following up with certain people, that builds in a habit where she doesn't really even have to fight the resistance in that case. The resilience automatically builds over time by constantly doing those things so that she doesn't feel the burden, oh, it's been a week, I should do another Facebook ad follow-up. No, it's something that she does every day. So the resistance never even gets a chance to build. And it builds up her comfort with it such that she's more resilient over time.
Running my ads, for example, is now an exercise that takes me approximately 15 to 20 minutes a day.
Yeah. First thing you do in the morning, or one of the first things you do in the morning.
It's one of the very first things I do in the morning so that I make sure that it's happening. So
nothing gets in the way.
There's a couple of things there, right? One, nothing gets in the way. Two, it's not such a big, heavy lift.
Right.
That I intimidate myself out of doing it before I even do it.
It reduces resistance.
It does, right? Now, I do periodically need to have additional time that I'm using for coming up with new creative, coming up with new copy and things that I'm actually writing and creating for my marketing. But those I tackle more on a project basis.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So, what habits would help you in your prospecting? In the very beginning, I still maintain the absolute best way to just get in the game really fast is to focus on in-person interaction and referral-based prospecting.
That means not Facebook advertising, not marketing in those regards. It's just pure old organic networking, face-to-face kind of stuff.
Exactly. And once you've got your first, call it your dozen or so clients, then after that, you're going to have enough cash flow coming in from your business that you can reinvest it into building out these very narrow / negative margin activities that take some time to master, take some time to learn, and take more skill.
Yeah. Well, there's an added benefit to what Amanda just mentioned as well. By the time you get your first 10, 12 clients or so, you've now gone through enough discussions, you've heard a lot of resistance from people, and you've become practiced in overcoming that resistance, and you yourself are now more resilient in overcoming it.
Exactly. So resilience, resistance, all of these things, very important. It's a cycle. It's a cycle. So think about that, right? What could you do to shift your perspective and your follow through on making sure that prospecting is consistently happening? So next week, we're going to talk more about these concepts of resistance and resilience. We're going to dig deeper on motivation and mindset. So be sure.
Wait, how are those different?
Oh, well, we'll talk about that next
time.
week.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it next week. But in the meantime, have a really awesome week. And I hope you really enjoyed today's episode.
All best.
Mwah. Hey there. Thanks for tuning into this week's The Crush Method video blog. I'm Amanda Kaufman.
And I'm Chris Lavelle. We loved having you here.
Be sure to subscribe to receive more goodies in your inbox every week and share with others you know who are eager to learn more about building their coaching and expert business.
And don't forget to leave a comment below to share your own experiences to inspire and lift others on this journey.
And check out our podcast on iTunes called The Crush Method Show so we can join you on your commutes and workouts.